Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. It's been quite a while since we were last here, but there's been some cyclocross news and we are going to discuss that. Issam, thank you for coming back after quite an extensive break.
Yeah, it has been a while indeed. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my work on the thesis really got the upper hand, took quite a lot of time, but the good news is I've handed it in, it's been graded, I graduated my bachelor's, so now there's a couple of weeks, 2 months of relaxing. Tour de France is on, but we're not going to talk about the Tour de France, because in the middle of the Tour de France there's also been quite an important news, which didn't actually have to do with road transfers. No, it's big cyclocross transfer. Joris Nieuwenhuis is leaving the Baloise Trek Lions, and the rumor is that there is going to be a new cyclocross team. Issam, Hans van Kasteren, he is going to apparently work together with Ridley, bike brand, to form a new cyclocross team, with Joris Nieuwenhuis being the main signing. What do you think about Nieuwenhuis leaving Baloise Trek Lions? It looked like such a good match. He came back to cyclocross, had a warm home there with the team of Sven Nys, and now, 2 years later, he's departing.
I have to say that it was for me a little unexpected, but there were some signs with Sven Nys talking about the team going to have some difficulties because they are missing that the money that has been put in by Trek. Obviously, Trek is still going to give them the material and the bikes, but they are leaving as a name sponsor. And when I heard that, I was a bit skeptical about those messages, because most of the time people try to exaggerate a little bit their financial situation, and then at a certain point they kind of fix it, and they have the money somewhere, and it's not a big issue. But it was I guess it was more serious than we had thought. And for Nieuwenhuis, I think that he felt great with the team and he had no issues whatsoever, and it was his best season in a while, and it looked very good. And yeah, for him to now leave such a familiar, I think that he started to really familiarize himself with the environment, and it looked very good. And I guess for him now, he has to take a new adventure, and which is going to be in a way very exciting, because I think that he was definitely one of the main men in cyclocross. At the front, especially if the big two, the big three were not there. So I think that definitely will be very interesting to see where he will be racing. If that team will come into fruition with Hans van Kasteren, which looks to be very exciting. And it will change it up a little, and I think that's not really a bad thing for the sport of cyclocross.
Yeah, before we talk about that new team, first, the reasons of Nieuwenhuis' exit. You already mentioned it, Trek is leaving as title sponsor there. They will remain bike sponsor. But according to Belgian newspaper Het Laatste Nieuws, the Belgian Gazette, big newspaper, biggest one of the country, or at least of Flanders, they report that the money that's missing, because Trek is stopping the title sponsorship, has not been replaced yet with a new sponsor. And they also reported that the decision to let Nieuwenhuis go was purely financially. Not only did they not have the financial leverage to sign Nieuwenhuis, they also already had problems paying him. At Baloise Trek, they work with low base salaries, high bonuses. If you finish in the top 10 of the UCI rankings, you get a bonus of 20,000 euros. If you end in the top 5, you get a bonus of 60,000 euros, whilst if you end in the top 3, they are mandatory to renegotiate your contract because of a different market worth. If we look at the UCI ranking, we can immediately see why this might have been an issue for Baloise Trek, because Nieuwenhuis ended second, so his contract needed to be renegotiated. Van der Haar ended third, which probably means renegotiation or a big bonus for him as well. Ronhaar ended fourth on that ranking, which is a 60,000 euro bonus to Ronhaar. That's a lot of money. Nys ended 11th, but I'm sure that Nys is also not on a low salary, although the road team of Trek is probably covering a fair bit of that as well, seeing his success there. But you can immediately see if you perform that well and you have a lot of bonuses, it becomes very difficult and you're in a tricky financial situation. Issam, I know you follow Formula 1 as well, and you will of course remember that year when Kimi Raikkonen raced for Lotus. They had low expectations, they had a super high incentivized contract for Raikkonen. He got a big bonus for every point he scored, but instead of scoring a handful of points, he won, I think, 2 races that season, got a bucket of podiums, and he almost bankrupted the team because they needed to pay him that much financial compensation for the great results he got. I feel it's the same in the situation here with Baloise Trek, and somebody needed to go out. Well, Nieuwenhuis kind of last in, first out. I get that they want to invest in Ronnaar and Nijs. They are the future. Van der Haar is the mentor. I can definitely see him transition to a role that's where Nijs has now, not necessarily manager, but coach or in some way or form staying involved there. So of course it's tough for Nieuwenhuis because he needs to go out on the market and find different teams, and you will know there's not that many teams, because how many big teams are there in cyclocross? What other teams could Nieuwenhuis have gone to?
Well, I mean, we have obviously the satellite teams of Roodhoofd with the 777 and also with Corendon and obviously opposite the Koning. But that is obviously that would be very difficult for him to be joining that team, because he's normally not going to be that active on the road, and he's also someone that is going to need quite the payment, and they already have their stars there in a way. So that is definitely going to be a very difficult transfer to be made, and obviously it's definitely not something that has been discussed probably by both the team and the rider. And then you have to look at Paul Sousa, obviously, which could have been possibility, but they also have this kind of thing where they have their leaders already up there, they have the youth that is coming up, and that structure is already there. So it's going to be very hard for an outsider to jump in as a supposed leader in a way, and so that falls off as well. And then you look into the not so broad cyclocross world, and then you obviously see that where he left from Trek is one of the bigger teams, and then you go to Hans Maas, and from there it becomes a bit, becomes smaller teams that you have to look at. And I think that, for a guy like Nieuwenhuis, it was either going to be trying to find a bigger team in the likes of Roodhoofd or maybe Paul Sousa, or maybe try something yourself, because I think for him what he has achieved last season it would be a bit of a waste from all the performances and all the achievements that he has done and has achieved in his last season, to go to a smaller team, get paid less, and kind of sacrifice your financial gains due to not being able to find that bigger team. So I encourage it really a lot, and it's just at the moment there's not really much he can do other than trying to find a new adventure.
I mean, apart from what you mentioned in terms of Paul Sousa Bingo and the Roodhoofd teams being set for leaders, there's another big issue, and that's that gambling sponsors are being banned. Okay, that in itself is not the issue. I agree with that decision, but it causes financial issues for the teams. That was my point. Paul Sousa does not have a replacement sponsor for Bingo yet. That means they are not in a position to sign Nieuwenhuis even if they wanted to. At the Roodhoofd teams, they have one team completely dependent on the gambling sponsor. 777 is a betting company. That team will no longer exist in roughly 6-7 months from here. It's not allowed anymore. They need to find a replacement sponsor, or they need to move their riders to their other teams. That means it's not going to be possible for them to sign a big rider like Nieuwenhuis. They don't have the leverage at the moment. There is no replacement for 777. The cross team of Wanty, which is the coffee roastery, Charles Legouille or something. I really still cannot pronounce it or even remember the name, but that's the team you didn't mention, but they are facing the same thing. Circus, they stopped sponsoring, which means that they also have an issue. It's a relatively small budget team there, so they are not really in a position either to make a big signing like Nieuwenhuis, which is also the reason why Geert Wellens has left that team. He was frustrated. He's afraid that they are also going to lose Gerben Kuipers. He's afraid they're going to lose talent after talent. They're probably going to lose Molengraaf, is what Geert Wellens said in an interview with Wielerverhaal. They are not in a position to sign him either. Hence Maas then. Well, they signed Toon Aerts. They are already a team with tight budget. Toon Aerts is actually above what they can afford. They're scrambling and scraping the cans to find additional sponsors. The market just wasn't really good for Nieuwenhuis, and that is where Hans van Kasteren enters this story. The financial market is tight on the cyclocross market, but there's one company here, and that's Ridley. Ridley Bikes, they are apparently wanting to invest, and they are looking for Hans van Kasteren, former manager of Spaar Select, which became Telenet Fidea. He sold the team to Sven Nys. He's looking, or at least rumored, to become the manager of that team. Issam, for the people who don't know Hans van Kasteren, could you introduce him?
I think you did half of the introduction already, but he was the main guy behind Spaar Select, Fidea, as we know it today. Right now, it's with Trek Baloise, and as you said, I think in 2016 he sold that team to Sven Nys, and from there he was still very, very much active in the field, being a manager for several riders, and I think especially surrounding the whole drama that was with Tormans and also the riders with Günther Hermans and Joran Viseur, and also with Verstringen as well, that there he was also very much involved, and he's someone that, despite the fact that he left or sold the team of Fidea to Nys at the time, he was someone that very much was active within the field of cyclocross, someone that really has, sort of a revolutionary way of looking at cyclocross, is someone that really thinks about the image of the team, and is someone also that takes risks in cyclocross, and it is very much, you can see it in the way he was running his team as well. He was someone that was keen to take in foreign riders. He was the one that brought Zdenek Stibar as well to Belgian team, which, if you look at other Belgian teams, that's something that you do not really do or really see, even in today's, in current times as well. You don't really see that. So he's definitely someone that is he brought some new stuff to cyclocross, and he was someone that really dared to do things. And up until this moment, the way he was dealing with Tormans, and he wanted to have a cyclocross team. He has been rumored quite a while for certain things, for certain projects, but it never came into fruition. And I think right now, the way the rumors are set up, it looks like this could actually be something that will happen, and especially with the fact that you have a guy like Nieuwenhuis that has, no contract, and he's definitely someone you can build a team on and around. And I think that, with the interest of Ridley, that is a very serious interest. So I think that rumor is definitely something that eventually will happen and become reality. The main question will be in what form and how big will this project be at the end.
Before I go in on the role of Ridley, a bit more on Hans van Kasteren. You said it very well about his vision and the way that he was managing Spaar Select, Telenet Fidea. He's also a very unliked figure in Belgium, or at least he used to be, and I don't really expect him to be welcomed back positively by most teams, but also especially not by the fans, because, as you said, he founded Spaar Select. When he did that, his motivation was that Bart Wellens, one of the best cyclocross riders at the time, was dating the daughter of Hans van Kasteren. They separated, but Van Kasteren remained a good relationship with Bart Wellens. Van Kasteren was a businessman already. He was always this real Dutch macho, driving in his sports car everywhere, and he looked at the cyclocross world and thought, this is unprofessional, I'm going to step in, I'm going to build a team, pay riders consistently, have one sponsor who can pay more money than to all the riders separately, and really help the team in that way. That's something positive I can say about him. he's perceived negatively in Belgium because of the TV series Wel en zijn Wee. This is another thing where he was kind of innovating. He thought it would be interesting, and he was right, because it got tremendous viewing figures to have like a reality TV series about his cyclocross team. So camera teams were following Bart Wellens to the races, Erwin Vervecke, Peter van Zandvliet, but also Hans van Kasteren. And his Dutch way of presenting himself, direct, straight to the point, was not perceived well in Belgium. In the series, he fires one of the soigneurs because he thinks he's unprofessional. They had a dispute about the way that they did massages. That didn't really help his image. And then Spaar Select went bankrupt, and his handling of that situation was subpar, to say the least. He didn't really notify his riders. It didn't help that he was holidaying in Spain when that happened, so he wasn't really in contact with his riders. In the media, riders complained about that. Where is Hans van Kasteren? I don't know. Will my wage be paid? Can I pay my mortgage? That really hurt his image. After that, when Wel en zijn Wee stopped, the hate was less. Van Kasteren became also a bit less present in the media. But I would not really expect him to be warmed back or have a warm welcome back into the sport. But can we even call it a welcome back, Issam? Because you said it. There's been many stories that he would come back. In 2020, there was a story that he would start a cyclocross project with with Next Gen, the women's team, which is now affiliated with Quickstep. That didn't go through in the end. Then we had this story about Hermans and Van Kessel, who raced for Tormans, which was affiliated with Wanty at the time, but then Tormans wanted to move his sponsorship to Quickstep, and he wanted to move Hermans and Van Kessel with him because there was a role for Van Kasteren there. That all completely exploded, and I think that's really the thing that doesn't make him resonate well with teams, because that's really recent. That's just 2 years ago, and Hermans and Van Kessel both stopped their relationship with Van Kasteren. Van Kasteren was their manager, was their rider broker, despite not being listed on the list of official UCI brokers, but that's a different story. He's been involved in and about a lot. He's been at cyclocross races quite a lot. He's been in the VIP tent of cyclocross races a lot the past couple of years. He's never really left. So I don't really think we can call it a comeback. In that sense, it doesn't really surprise me that at some point Van Kasteren would come back. And Issam, I think Ridley, with their whole issues with the Lotto Destiny team last year, it's also not surprising that they're trying to rebuild their identity in some way or form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what we also read in the rumors was that there is maybe going to be a gravel presence as well. And we have seen that the bike brands take that very seriously. And just to come back a little bit on Van Kasteren, he's a very controversial figure. And I think that for a big part has to do with he does his things his own way. And he thinks of his own interest more and his own team's interest more than anything else. And sometimes when it comes to the financial issues, he might have the tendency to think about himself more than his riders. But in a lot of cases, he also thinks about the interest of his riders. And it's, there are going to be obviously a lot of people that they're not going to like his quote unquote comeback. But I still think that it is someone that has a thing or two to bring to cyclocross. And on Ridley, I think that for Ridley they have to find something to really get themselves back in the shot and have a certain presence. And I think that the way they departed with Lotto Destiny was not great, and they are lacking that real presence in a way. And I think especially for the market in Belgium, it's not the worst idea to try and do something in cyclocross, because the attention is there. And with a guy like Nieuwenhuis, you could potentially have a very good leader that we have seen could win races over the course of a season. So I think that is definitely not a bad idea, and I totally understand Ridley's interest there, and that could be very interesting, because I think that Ridley will have the financial backing in a way to start things up. And from there it's going to be interesting who is going to join as sponsor and what are going to be the potential other riders, because there have been some names mentioned.
Yeah, before we move to the personnel, a bit more on Ridley, because they have really changed their marketing strategy, and this is really where my bachelor degree starts overlapping with cyclocross. Ridley had a contract with Lotto Destiny, previously Lotto Soudal, World Tour, then Pro Tour team. They parted ways in an unpleasant way last year. Ridley renegotiated a contract with Lotto during COVID. They reduced their financial contributions to the team to a minimum. Really, really, really good deal for Ridley, but really bad for Lotto. The CEO responsible for that at Lotto, Jean Lelangu, was fired by the board of directors there. He was replaced by Stephen Hulot, Frenchman, former press secretary at Sané Duval. And he figured, hey, this contract is a really bad deal for us. We can get about 10 times more money in the market than that we're currently getting from Ridley. Ridley was unable or unwilling to pay that, so Lotto terminated the contract from one side and also publicly complained about the lack of innovation at Ridley. They said, and that was turned out to be true, that there was a lot of issues with the TT bikes. They were delayed quite a bit, and then they were not really to the liking of the riders either. So Lotto is now riding on Orbea, and Ridley was left without a big road team. They're apparently going to work together with Uno X in the future. So for Ridley, it really was back to the drawing board. That's how they also ended up with Uno X. They've really, okay, how are we going to play this? You see the CEO of Ridley come in the media quite a lot more than he used to at least. He's talking about, oh, but we're building a new bike brand. Oh, but we're going to rebrand this bike, and we're going to sponsor Uno X. But Uno X that they choose for us is special. It's one of the most promising teams in the world. But they're not World Tour. Well, no, but they're de facto World Tour. They're so good. And they race the Tour de France now. And look at them. They're in the green jersey. They're in the polka dot jersey. It's great. It's great. And, out of all us, we know we're not the biggest bike brand company. We couldn't pay them as much as other teams, but they chose for us because our bikes are so good. In that new setting of Ridley, really they're trying to get rid of those dents that Lotto punched into them last year. They're trying to show them that, hey, we can build proper bikes. It would fit for them to have their own cyclocross team. Nieuwenhuis, I say, is a very good leader for that. But Paul Saus also rides on Ridley bikes, Issam. Do you think that there's a chance that this is an early move forward by them because they know Paul Saus is going to switch bike brands as well? Or do you think they just want to broaden their scope?
Could be one of two, eh? But if I should give my idea on this, I think that it is. I lean more towards the idea that Baloise will change bike brands, but then the question is, which brand is then going to replace it? It is difficult because we don't know how big this team will become. The new team of Van Kasteren with Ridley, then with the support of Ridley, like how many riders are going to be there? How big is, what is the ambition? Those are things that are at the moment still lacking. We don't have the clear picture, and I think if we can really see that this is like almost becoming a factory team, then it's going to be, of course, difficult. And we could potentially see that Ridley, I don't know how long they have a contract with Baloise, but there could be several things in terms of maybe when they have new contract negotiations, Ridley might cut down a little bit on the money that they are giving to Baloise. Several things could happen there, so it's going to be obviously a different situation. But it wouldn't also surprise me if Ridley would keep both teams and try to work it out. But I lean more towards the fact that Ridley will probably focus more on this team and eventually leave the part Baloise, and Baloise has to find a new bike brand to make sure that they have some bikes to ride.
Well, I think that would be fine-ish for Baloise. I mean, I don't know how many options there are in terms of bike brands. Like Cannondale is an option, although they are also with Hans Maas. Could be a bigger team for them to sponsor. Trek is not an option. I don't think Stevens is an option. Canyon for sure isn't an option. I doubt Van Rijssel is an option because they would just do it through Azure Desert. Bianchi already did that through Arkea. So the only option that really would make sense to me is Giant. But then again, I could easily see Ridley in their new strategy trying to just supply both teams, but really have like one team as their own team. I kind of compare it to like an engine manufacturer in motorsports. They have their factory team and then they supply engines to a number of other teams. I think that is the most likely for me. That's the scenario I foresee, at least, that Ridley would just be sponsoring the two teams in a similar way like Stevens is sponsoring multiple teams as well, and Canyon, of course. So I don't think that will be that big of an issue. But Ridley is really the main backer of this project. There's going to be one other sponsor. I haven't been able to really figure out which one that is. At least one big sponsor. I heard Garmin is going to be involved in this project in some way or form, but that does not need to mean that the team is going to be called Ridley Garmin. I think that's unlikely. I think it's just going to be one of the partners. Then into the personnel. We've already mentioned Nieuwenhuis, great leader for the team. Other names floating around in the Belgian media are Daan Soete and Tom Meeuwse, with Richard Groenendaal being the coach of the team. Issam, I think you have a pretty solid foundation for your team if you have Nieuwenhuis, Soete and Meeuwse. Soete, of course, not the greatest rider, but you have like one rider who, without the big three, can compete for podiums and wins. Soete, a rider who can finish in the top 10 on a good day, and Meeuwse, a rider who can do, well, a top 15, maybe top 10, if something really good for the smaller races, more a rider. And of course, publicity.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. I think that's the main thing. I think you really just want to you want to start this team, and you want to just have certain riders that are, that have a certain presence, and I think that it just works out in a way because the media will give that attention the further we go into the cyclocross season, and the names will be mentioned. They obviously have to make sure that they have a good name because, if you mess that up, you already have an issue there. But I do feel that, these riders you've mentioned are really the type of riders that on a very good day could be on the sort of, in the range between 10th and 5th in a way if they have a very good day. And if the day is not so great, then it's obviously outside of the top 10 and sometimes even outside of the top 20. But that's not an issue. And I think for them it's important to have a start, and then from there on you can obviously build if the money is right and certain contracts are getting on an end, and they might find a certain rider that they can buy. Then at that point obviously you can grow the team more, and you can look more into trying to have 2-3 riders in both the men's and the women's category, by the way, to be more solid in the top 10 and have more of a presence in the top 10. But I think for now, if you're going to start a team, I think if you have Nieuwenhuis as a leader and those riders around him, I definitely think that is a very, very good start. And from there on, you just have to try and make the best out of it.
The article in Het Laatste Nieuws also mentioned that Laurens Sweeck is an option for the team. Laurens Sweeck is at the end of his contract on December 31st. So that would mean in Baal he could make his debut for the team. I think this also shows you just the scope of this project. And I think that's what cyclocross needs. Because there are 2-3 big teams, or clans. You have Baloise Trek. Then you have Paul Saus Bingle, and then you have the big Roodhoofd clan, which really relies, for now at least, a lot on Mathieu van der Poel still. I think that will change in the coming years, but those are your 3 big blocks, and then just below them you have Vanti and you have Hens Maas. Well, it's quite some level below, but those are your 5 options. And I think it would be good if there is the possibility of another team joining that top step. And Sweeck, in my opinion, would make sense if he parts ways with Corendon. He had a good first year, didn't really perform last year due to a variety of reasons. I've already mentioned the budgetary issues. That's why, like Soete, it makes sense that Hens Maas wants to dump Soete because it gives them a bit more breathing space financially to pay Toonaerts. And for the Roodhoofds, it will also be easy to get rid of Zweek. He's a big contract. It would free up some budget for them. So if they can't one-on-one replace 777, they at least have a couple of thousands of euros in reserve on the bank, which they can use to pay riders from 777 to ride for Corendon. So I think that would really make a lot of sense, Issam, if you have this as a foundation for your team. I mean, Ryan Kamp is off the market. He's with Alpecin. I would have maybe said, would they go for Mees Hendricks? But Hendricks has gone to Heizomat, the German team there. Zweek is probably the best rider that's going to be coming onto the market for them. So I think that would make a lot of sense. And you have a really solid foundation with Soete, Meeuwse, Nieuwenhuis and Zweek. Because then you're not only talking about one rider in the contention for podiums. If Zweek gets to the level that he had a year ago, he would also be in contention there.
Absolutely. And I think that then you're starting to talk about a new quote-unquote giant within the cyclocross as a team, as a structure as well. And I think that will be good for cyclocross overall, because I think that at the moment we have these, big teams that are kind of controlling the top 10, and it's a big surprise if someone outside of those 3-4 teams is getting himself in the top 10. And I think that in many ways is not the best for the sport. I think that it would be better if you have certain leaders riding for different teams, more mixed up. I think that would also be a bit better for the financial part of it. Obviously, you need to have these big teams as well, because for the lower tier riders, that they are able to be within the support of a big team, and obviously financially it's also easier for a team to do so. But still, I would say that the situation at the moment is not the greatest, and it would be better if we have maybe 2 or 3 more smaller teams that are able to have certain big riders to get on and fight it out. So it is, again, the rumors and the way it's being set up and the way it's being talked about, it looks very realistic. It looks like it's already something that has been discussed to a certain extent that it can be taken seriously. And I think that the signing of Zweek would definitely be, if Zweek can reach that level that he had 2 years ago, or at least not last season but the season before that, then it would definitely be a very valuable rider. If it's going to be the Zweek of last year, obviously it's still not a bad rider. He has the potential to finish within the top 5 and top 10, but obviously it's going to be a bit less, to say the least, and it's going to be interesting. But I think that it looks very good, it sounds very good, but we have to see a little bit more just to make sure that this is really going to happen.
I think it speaks a lot of volume that Van Kasteren says there are talks, it's not finished, but yes, this is a project in working. Ridley doesn't deny it either. I think that means that there is quite a lot going on and there's a lot of progress. I mean, would Nieuwenhuis leave the team that he is in if he doesn't have another option lined up? I highly doubt that. I think this is a first step, a first move, and we will see the other pieces of the puzzle come together a bit later. Because you already mentioned it earlier, Issam, Hans van Kasteren has a different vision on the way to look at sponsor deals. He does not only look at this from the perspective, hey, I need as many Belgians and maybe, just maybe, a Dutch rider to get exposure. He is a manager who looks at, okay, which riders will give me the most exposure on TV? And then the flag behind the name is pretty irrelevant, because if you look at the history of Hans van Kasteren as team manager, he has signed a lot of non-Dutch and Belgian riders. Of course, Spaar Select and Telenet Fidea had a bunch of Belgians and a bunch of Dutch riders on the team. But he's also had Peter Dlask on his team, Zdenek Stibar, as you said. Karel Hinnik has been on the team from 2009 till 2011. But it goes further than just the Czech. Jeffrey Drucker was on the team. Arnaud Jouffroy was on the team. He signed Kasper Sespanik, who then got caught for using doping, but it goes to say that there have been riders from a lot of different nationalities on that team. Arnaud Grand has been on the team, Robert Gavenda has been on the team as well. He signed a lot of riders who aren't from Belgium or the Netherlands, so that could mean that there are potential for riders like Boros, who rides on a Ridley bike, I think, at the moment, for Orts, for Kuhn, to be moved into the picture. So that would be interesting to see if he also opts for any of those riders. I think Kuhn, who's at the end of his contract at the end of the calendar year, 2024, would be a decent pickup for the team as well in really becoming a robust team. I don't have a look in their budget, but it would make sense. What hasn't reached the media yet, however, is which woman they're interested in signing, because at the moment it's being focused on the men, but they will need to sign at least one woman. And on the woman, they have also had non-Dutch and Belgian riders. They had Amy Dombrowski in 2013. Nikki Harris has been on that team for a while. Pavla Havlikova has been on the team from 2011 to 2015, I say from the top of my head. I have 3 options, Issam. Well, kind of 4 actually. Let's start. My first thing that came to mind was they should sign Annemarie Worst. 777, budget issues. Worst needs a new team. Would make sense signing her. Your thoughts?
Realistic in a way. But the question is going to be, would she dare to make that move? Because again, she is at the moment in an environment that is quite good to her. Despite the bad results, she still has she has the support there despite the bad results. So I think that is, I don't really see that happen at the moment. It could be for sure, but it's a dairy move. So I don't know if that is something that that has a very high likelihood in a way.
I think it would make a lot of sense for Worst to try and rebuild herself in a different team. I thought about Betsema in a similar context, but I really can't see Betsema leave Pauwelsauze before the end of her career. Just can't really see that happen. So then I moved further. Kristina Zemanova, talented rider from the Czech Republic, already races on Ridley bikes, is said to have received an offer from a Belgian team, one of the Roodhoofd teams, from what I heard, in January of this year, before the Worlds. She said that it was not worth taking that offer. She's also not against riding for a Belgian-Dutch team. I think Zemanova would be a great signing because the potential is in there, and I think she's a rider that has a lot of potential that really can be cultivated. I think Groenendaal can play a pretty good role in that. I don't really know that much about the coaching style of Groenendaal and how he does that, but at least in his role on Play Sports, he's always talking about what riders can improve. So I think Zemanova, personally, that would be my favorite signing for them to make if all of this goes through. Of course, we're speculating a lot here, but I would really like to see that happen.
Yeah, that's also the one that I really would love to see become reality, and it's also the one that I give the most chance because, as you said, she is riding on Ridley bikes, and it is also, if you want to sign a rider that you can enjoy in terms of results for the next 4 or 5 years, I think that Zemanova would be a better transfer than anyone at the moment on the market in terms of who is available. So and what is realistically possible. And I think that, financially, I don't think you need to pay as much as you need to pay Worst, probably. So in several ways, I see a lot of factors that could help this transfer become reality. And it's, as you said, it's also, I think that it would be a good move. Coming under the umbrella of Groenendaal could also very much help. So I think that is definitely something that I would love to see it, and I hope that something like that could happen. But again, we have to wait and see how that will play out.
I don't think that Zemanova is actually the best rider available on the market. For that, I have two other names that I could see happen. I'm just going to disregard the possibilities of signing Magali Rochette or Clara Honsinger. In this context, I don't think Helene Clauzel is an option here either. But I think Sara Casasola might just be the best rider out there on the market. I think there's a lot of potential in her as well. She had a pretty good season with a couple of top fives in the World Cup and the top six. She finished sixth at the World Championships in Tabor. I think that could be an option, but I also think it's unlikely that she would race for this team, which does not really offer a road program focused on gravel. But that leads me to the final name, which is a Belgian, Laura Verdonschot. I have a couple of positive points. She was, over the entire season, probably the best Belgian. She finished 5th at the Cyclocross World Championships, had a couple of other good results throughout the season as well. I recall a very good race in Zonhoven. Of course, the Sandmaster, she finished 4th in Kokzijde. I think I saw her on the podium. I think that must have been Mol. She had a really, really solid season, a ton of podiums after the World Championships as well. My only concern with Verdonschot is that she would be the leader of the team. And I mean, I can't really judge this. I'm just an outsider here. I don't speak to Lara Verdonschot. But what I do know is that Verdonschot has had mental issues over COVID, mental issues with pressure. She's had struggles. And I don't know, like, she seems in a happy place right now at the Coaster Bonnage, which is also changing names. She seems in a happy place right now. And I don't know if a change of environment is what she needs at the moment. But from the perspective of Hans van Kasteren, that would be on my list of riders to approach as well.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I definitely feel that is something that she probably doesn't want to make that move. Obviously, we cannot speak for her, but the way the relationship she also has with Rob Peters as a coach, it's just it looks very good from the outside, and it feels really as a team, as a very good combination there. And the way she has been able to perform also this season, I think that she, for a part, can definitely look at that team and be like, okay, it was definitely due to the environment as well where I'm at, that I'm able to come back to the level that I maybe should have reached earlier, but eventually have been able to reach again. So it's tricky, I would say. And again, that's also the reason why I said that Zemanova is most likely the one that looks to be the best on the market at the moment that is available, because I think that just she would definitely be someone that would make such a move, become a leader at the team, and also in terms of the perspective that you can have with someone like her for the future is just, it's, in my opinion, is quite immense. You can talk about several seasons. Of course, a career can always end in a troublesome way, but obviously you don't wish that to someone, and you hope that doesn't happen. And I think that if you look at clear potential, Zemanova is definitely someone that has that. So, that was really the reason why I said it, and I think that at the moment that looks to me like the one that could be coming to reality, but we have zero information on that whatsoever, so it's pure speculation at the moment.
Yeah, it's completely speculation here, but apart from finances, I can't really see a reason for Verdonschot to move teams. But we'll need to wait and see how this unfolds. It's been good to be back on the podcast, Issam. We'll closely monitor this situation, and we will, in the meantime, also wait for the Super Prestige calendar to be announced, or the Exact Cross calendar to be announced, because both haven't been announced. Only the X2O Badkamers Trofee have released their schedule. That was quite straightforward. Koppenberg, then a new race, Lokeren. That's on the 10th of November. Then Hamme, Herentals, Baal, Kokzijde, Lille, and Brussels. So that means that Lokeren moved in, and that came at the expense of, I actually don't really recall.
I don't know either.
There we go. It came at the expense of Kortrijk, which is, in my opinion, likely to move to Super Prestige, which then will replace Heusden-Zolder there, because Heusden-Zolder is organizing the Belgian Championships. But that needs to be confirmed, and for now we don't really know that. But we'll keep monitoring that, and promise you won't need to wait that long. We're also closing in on the cyclocross season. It's going to be a late start in Belgium. First races there are taking place in mid-October, and we will be back earlier because we are cyclocross diehards. We'll cover the USCX, we'll cover everything. Issam, thank you once again for being here.
Thank you for having me, and I think I will now try to anticipate Formula 1 qualifying and follow the Tour de France because, why not?
Tour de France, and of course tonight, banger of a match. Netherlands is playing Turkey, Europeans football also going on. Olympics coming up, is going to be a great summer. Issam, thank you very much. We will be back. Thanks everyone for listening, and goodbye.